Planning a trip to Rhodes? Before you go, there are a few things you should know that can save you time, money, and a lot of frustration. Because while Rhodes is an incredible island, many first-time visitors make the same mistakes, from underestimating distances to staying in the wrong area or missing some of the island's best experiences. As someone who lives here in Greece and helps travelers plan their trips, I've seen these mistakes come up again and again. So in this video, I'll share the most important things to know before visiting Rhodes, so you can avoid common mistakes and make the most of your trip. Let's get started. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming Rhodes is a small island. In reality, Rhodes is one of the largest Greek islands. Driving from Rhodes Town to the southern tip of the island can take almost 2 hours, so don't expect to see everything in a day or two. Even if you're staying for a week, I would focus on a few areas rather than trying to see the entire island. Trust me, there is more than enough here to keep you busy. And actually, building realistic itineraries is one of the things travelers ask me about the most. If you're planning a trip to Greece and would like personalized help, choosing destinations, hotels, ferries, or putting together your itinerary, I offer one-on-one Greece trip planning sessions. You'll find a link in the description. Now, if you're visiting Rhodes in July or August, don't underestimate the heat. Temperatures above 35 Celsius are quite common, and sightseeing in the middle of the day can become exhausting very quickly. Whenever possible, visit places like the Old Town or Lindos early in the morning or later in the afternoon. Not only will it be cooler, but you will usually encounter fewer crowds as well. Tap water in Rhodes is generally safe to drink. You may notice that it tastes a little different from what you're used to, but that's normal. And during the summer months, when temperatures can get very high, staying hydrated is very important. Lindos is one of the most beautiful places in Rhodes, and naturally, it's also one of the busiest. If you're visiting during the summer, try to go either early in the morning or later in the afternoon. You will avoid the worst of the crowds, enjoy cooler temperatures, and have a much more pleasant experience exploring the village and visiting the Acropolis. And if you're planning to visit the Acropolis of Lindos during high season, I would also recommend booking your ticket online in advance, as ticket lines can sometimes get quite long. When people picture Greek islands, they often imagine long stretches of soft golden sand. But in Rhodes, many of the island's most popular beaches are actually pebbly rather than sandy. That's not necessarily a bad thing. The water is often incredibly clear, but it can catch some visitors by surprise. If you're planning lots of beach time, consider bringing water shoes, especially if you're visiting beaches like Anthony Quinn Bay. A lot of visitors assume they need a rental car for their entire stay in Rhodes, but that really depends on when you're staying. If you're based in Rhodes Town, you can easily explore the Old Town, Mandraki Harbour, Ellie Beach, and several other attractions on foot. And even if you want to explore further afield, there are public buses connecting many of the island's many attractions, as well as plenty of organized tours if you prefer not to drive yourself. Of course, having a car gives you the most flexibility, especially if you want to visit more remote beaches and villages, but it's definitely not the only way to explore Rhodes. But if you're renting a car, scooter or ATV, I highly recommend taking a few detailed photos before you drive away. Make sure you capture any existing scratches or dents. It only takes a minute and can help avoid misunderstandings when you return the vehicle. One thing many first-time visitors don't realize is that where you stay can completely change your experience of Rhodes. If you want easy access to restaurants, nightlife and sightseeing, Rhodes Town is usually the best choice. If you're looking for a more traditional setting with beautiful views and easy access to one of the island's most famous attractions, then Lindos might be a better fit. And if your priority is simply relaxing by the beach, you may prefer one of the island's resort areas instead. So before booking your accommodation, think about what you want your holiday to look like, rather than simply choosing the cheapest hotel available. If you've been researching Rhodes online, you've probably come across posts warning about scams in the Old Town. As a local, I think it's important to put this into perspective. The vast majority of shops, restaurants, cafes and businesses in Rhodes are run by honest, hardworking people. Like in any major tourist destination, there are a few businesses that give the area a bad reputation, but that doesn't reflect the overall experience most visitors have here. The best thing you can do is use a little common sense. Avoid places where staff aggressively try to pull you inside. Always check prices before ordering and take a quick look at recent reviews online. And if you are unsure where to eat, don't hesitate to ask a local. Most of us are happy to recommend our favorite spots. This might sound obvious, but you'll be surprised how many people underestimate how much walking they end up doing in Rhodes. Whether you're exploring the Old Town, visiting Lindos or simply wandering around, you'll spend a lot of time on cobblestone streets and uneven surfaces. And if you're planning to visit Lindos, keep in mind that the village is quite hilly, with steep streets and plenty of steps, especially if you're heading up to the Acropolis. So leave the brand new shoes at home and bring something comfortable instead. Your feet will thank you later. If you need to withdraw cash during your trip, try to use ATMs attached to Greek banks whenever possible. And if the ATM asks whether you want to be charged in your home currency or in euros, always choose euros. This usually gives you a better exchange rate and helps you avoid unnecessary conversion fees. While Rhodes has plenty to see on land, some of the island's best experiences happen in the water. If you have enough time, consider taking a boat trip to places like Simi or one of the swimming cruises around the island. Not only do you get to see a different side of Rhodes, but you will also discover beautiful coves, crystal clear water and places that are difficult to reach by car. For many visitors, a boat trip ends up being one of the highlights of their trip. When people think of Rhodes, they often picture beaches and resorts, and while the island has some fantastic beaches, that's only a small part of what makes Rhodes special. Rhodes is one of the most historically rich islands in Greece, with a medieval old town, ancient sites, traditional villages, castles, and centuries of fascinating history. So even if you're coming mainly for the sea, make sure you leave some time to explore beyond the beach. If you're visiting Rhodes during the summer, it's worth checking whether cruise ships are in port that day. Rhodes is a very popular cruise destination, and when several ships arrive at the same time, areas like the Old Town, Mandraki Harbour and Lindos can feel noticeably busier. That doesn't mean you should avoid them, but if possible, start sightseeing early in the morning or visit popular attractions later in the afternoon. Rhodes has beautiful beaches, fascinating history, traditional villages, boat trips and some fantastic food. And that's exactly why many visitors make the mistake of trying to fit too much into their itinerary. The reality is that you'll enjoy Rhodes much more if you focus on the places that interest you most instead of rushing from one attraction to another. Rhodes isn't an island that you need to conquer, it's an island that you should enjoy, and honestly, that's what makes so many people fall in love with it. So those are my top things to know before visiting Rhodes. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Greece travel tips and guides. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!